So stories are powerful, and so are names. My name, Sanyika, means the gatherer. So in Swahili, you would say, Kusanyika, gather, come, draw in. I am the only child of 11 children. So that's an interesting opportunity for growth and a story much longer that I have to share. But I am one of 7 of my mother's children and one of 6 of my father's children. I have been walking with God for over 40 years, since I was 8 years old. I became a Christ follower and have a beautiful, rich religious history, and that it's full of blessings that are buried in broken pieces. My mom was the first Black woman to be accepted into the Apostolic Bible College in Minnesota, and had the distinction of handwriting the Bible 3 times in her lifetime. She lived a wonderful, storied life. And she recently passed away during 2020, which was a year for many of us that would be marked by many stories of joy, many stories of frustration and hurt and questions and pain. We like to say in my family, she went big before she went home. She had a very interesting life. My story, as Jordan has said, has journeyed in all kinds of ebbs and flows and bobs and weaves. There have been seasons where I was absolutely confident of what God was doing and how he was going to choose to use me. And there were times where I had no idea in which direction he was going to take me. I was married for almost 18 years, and in 2014 I divorced and went on what I call my East Coast exodus, which is leaving the East Coast where all of my life and all of my family was, to come to the West Coast. I knew 2 things: that I didn't want to live in the snow, and I had no idea what God was up to next. And bringing me to the West Coast from the East Coast was what I called my schizophrenic Israelite journey, because I was like, God, are you sure? Were there no graves in New Jersey or New York? You brought me to California to completely kill me. And what I love about the journey, what I love about God, is that this idea of dying to self sometimes sounds much more spiritual than it actually feels. But he challenges us and he calls us to die to those parts of us that are no longer serving or supporting who we are and whose we are and what he ultimately wants to do in and through us. So part of the growth journey for me was living on the West Coast and finding all kinds of new ways to understand who God is, the bigness of God, the names of God: Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Nisi, Jehovah Rapha, the provider, the protector, the sustainer, the friend, the comforter, the mother, the father, everything that I needed him to be. There were moments where I just didn't know where else to go and what else to do. And thank God I had God and I knew who to turn to in those moments. My journey took me full circle in 2020. God has constantly worked out the word never from my vocabulary. So when I got to California and realized that in the winter it is 80 degrees, I'm never moving to the East Coast again, he thought that to be funny and decided that in 2020, in the midst of so many challenges and so many question marks for an entire world, when the planet quite literally was on pause, I moved back to the East Coast. My mother lost her battle with cancer in March, 1 week after the world paused and shut down due to the pandemic. My graduate school went online. My career paused and stopped, and everything seemed to just completely fall down and fall apart. How could beauty come from ashes was my question. And yet God did it yet again. Because while Romans 8:28 tells us that all things work together for the good, he does not say that all things are good. So 2020 had a lot of not good, but it also had some really good as well. Because in the middle of a pandemic, and because God has a sense of humor, I met my person, my Mr. Wright. His name quite literally is Samuel Wright, and we will be married in March. Well, actually, we're going to be married a couple of times, but our official ceremony is in February. And then in March in California, I get to come and celebrate with my California people. So God is good. He's amazing. He takes us on twists and turns, and everything, quite literally, everything happens for a reason. So my story is really for God's glory. He truly allows us to find the blessings buried in the broken pieces. I hope you're inspired. And I hope you continue to walk with God, even when you don't know where he's leading you.